He's mean, he's green, he's definitely a fighting machine, and he might be a furry, actually, now that we look at it. Anyhow, Dino Dudes, this week on Raptor's Combat Corner, we're talking about the one, the only, Kotal Kahn. The Emperor of Outworld, who is hashtag not my Khan, hashtag not my Emperor. Yeah, so with Kotal Kahn being a pretty big, pretty popular character in MKX, and kind of having a pretty big part in the story, it really only made sense they would bring him back. And once again, they decided to go the road of what I think this game has been doing, and the best way to summarize this game is revamping. And I mean that in the best way possible. Not only does Kotal Kahn sport an amazing new look, I'll talk about that more in a second, but his gameplay, everything about it that people loved from the past games are still here, and I think they will. But if you were a Kotal fan before, you're still going to love him. The first thing I want to mention about him, and this was something that was pointed out to me after I made my Mortal Kombat X review, is that when you hear the name Kahn, you think Shao Kahn, this like 8 foot tall, 500 pound hulking muscle beast with a giant hammer who will most likely cave your skull in just for laughs. And when you looked at Kotal Kahn and MKX, sure, he was tall, but honestly, compared to like Kano, Goro, Predator, Jason, even Leatherface, he seemed kind of scrawny in a way almost, if that makes any sense. Granted, he didn't look bad, but there was certainly something, I guess, lacking from him, you know, to make him as intimidating as they were trying to. Granted, the game didn't make him the most intimidating character in the world, but they certainly did make him interesting. And I will tell you this, the comics did him much better. The stuff we got in the MKX comics, which I highly recommend all of you go and read, I'm actually working on a review for them, they were amazing, and they gave us so much more personality and character to him, so much more depth, so much more reason, and just so much more reason to like him. And to all of you asking, okay, if he's such a good character, then where was he in the previous games? There is a reason for it, but I'm not going to tell you right now, you're going to have to look it up for yourself, because I think it's a pretty interesting reason. So let's talk about Kotal Kahn. What he was known for in MKX was having a giant sword, using the sun, and essentially being able to summon totems to give him buffs and boosts. All of that is back, and all of that has been reworked. First of all, his most basic attacks, such as his quick punches and kicks, while he is still kind of slow compared to other characters, and I think he might be the slowest character in the game thus far aside from Geras, he hits like he should, he hits like a tank. And while he is a bit slower in terms of being able to punch and kick, some of his moves got massive upgrades, such as his, shoot, I forget what it's called. It's the one when he like essentially throws a giant disc at his opponent. I remember in MKX, against certain characters, this was very hard to pull off in fast concession, considering the fact that, well, it took him not a few seconds, because that would be far too long, but it took him maybe overall a second to pull it out and, that's what she said, pull it out and hit the opponent and throw it to hit the opponent. This easily meant that the opponent could counter or predict this move and do something to kind of stop them from doing that. Now, well, the way he has it for his basic mode, he essentially throws it, he is just yeeting it out of there as if he's in a desperate hurry to get rid of it. So it looks much faster, and it's far more, well, it seems to be more powerful, and I also like what they've done with the effect of it breaking off against the opponent. You know, naturally, when you throw a giant stone at somebody and it hits someone, it's going to shatter into pieces, so very well done on that. He still has his Sunbeam attack, which this time gives him health and takes health from the opponent. I believe that's what it did in the previous game, but it seems to be kind of more effective. And he even has a parry now. It seems like most of these characters have parries. Well, I don't think every character needs one. I certainly do like his, how he gets to use these daggers that he used to use just to try and cut himself for a blood offering in the previous game. But most importantly, he still has his giant sword, which was my favorite thing to use in MKX. I always played War God whenever I played him, because trust me, whacking opponents with a giant sword or just slamming the ground or just cutting into them was so much fun back then, and it looks so much cooler now. For example, his ground slam is what I'm going to call it, attack, now looks like this. His saw blade attack, when he would just sort of stick the saw into somebody, and if he meter burned it, he would saw a little bit. Far more brutal. It looks like this. In fact, you can even meter burn it. And for those of you who remember playing him, you might remember with his Sun God variation, he had the ability to essentially keep charging up a sunburst. Can he do that now? Yes and no. He no longer has the ability to do it the way he used to, where he would grab the opponent, drain life from them, slam them on the ground. If he did that 3 times, he would get to do an overhead attack. He would essentially do a command grab that was a very powerful overhead that could even have a brutality, as you're seeing on screen right now. Now, he straight up drinks their blood. And it looks amazing and creepy at the same time. Now granted, this is not out of character for Kotal, as both his fatalities involved him essentially consuming the blood of his enemy. Although most of the footage I ended up recording had him using brutalities and stuff like that, so whoopsie daisy. My point is, this is certainly not out of character for somebody who's all about blood offerings and stuff like that. His whole character is an Aztec warrior, essentially. It is kind of what he would do. He would end up sacrificing blood towards gods for power. It's kind of what they did back then. Speaking of blood and gods, we haven't talked about his blood god variation, which is the one I liked the least out of them. While I will admit summoning a totem to give you a damage or defense boost could be effective, the fact that the second an enemy touched you, it would go away was very annoying, and the blood totem to me was pretty much worthless, as you had to get it out, then you had to not only hit your opponent, but wait for it to time out, and not be even touched by your opponent, including chip damage during that, otherwise you would lose it. Now granted, the payoff of getting health back was quite helpful, and healthful I guess you could say. I'm sorry. I like what they've done now. Not only can you have 2 totems at the same time, but you can stack them. This, to me, is kind of what they should have done in the previous game, giving you the ability to strategize and think, okay, which totems do I want to use? Do you want to have triple damage? Do you want to have triple blood and get just a whack ton of health back if you manage not to let yourself get damaged? Or do you want to buff yourself up with defense and just let your opponent so you can try and read your opponent's attacks? By giving yourself so much defense, you could take a lot of damage, but also kind of understand what the other player is going at. Then figure out a way to use your abilities to come back and take them out. Kotal has a lot of very good low and high attacks, mainly seeming to be much more of a straight-up fist fighter, or a brawler as I like to call them. And yes, this should be expected by now, even though I won't be showing them to you because I wasn't able to record them. His fatality and fatal blows are awesome. But just go look them up, I don't have them here right now. Something else completely new for Kotal Kahn, actually, that I think is probably the coolest thing about him, is he can transform into a panther, or a sphinx, or a cat of some sort. He can essentially perform an animality to attack his opponent. Now, I'm really looking forward to this because it has been a long time since we've had animalities, and while I feel like this would better suit somebody like Nightwolf, I do like the fact that they've given Kotal Kahn something completely new. Because aside from his sun power, his big sword, and his totems, that's about all he has, so giving him this power to transform into an animal? I'm cool with it. It certainly looks like it'll be great to keep your opponent, off balance, or even just keep them guessing, because you could easily transform, go high or low, and then run. Not to mention his giant disc, you can actually create a giant death laser. So I'm going to be showing a lot of I'm firing my laser and Dr. Octagon while I'm playing this game. Yeah, I am a meme lord, and really, I don't care. Well, not a meme lord, not even close. Or maybe like a meme... I'm a meme outlaw, or a meme outworlder. You know what? No, I'm a meme nomad. To me, when I find a meme funny, it stays funny. I don't care what the current trend is. I don't care what the current popular meme is. I quote memes from years and years ago and make people laugh with them even when they don't want to. Trust me. To me, memes don't die. I refuse to let them die. Anyhow, Kotal Kahn certainly looks to be a very good character. I really was quite interested as when I played him in MKX, like hearing about him and even reading the comics. I was always interested to hear more. I wanted to know where this guy came from, like what was his story, what was his background, what was he doing. So not only do we have an interesting background now as to why he wasn't in the previous games, but it feels like now in this game we're going to have him be a lot more prevalent to the story, because after a bit he just sort of decided, yeah, I'm out of here for now, I'll come back to kind of betray you in the end, and see you then, bye, and then just disappeared until the final chapter. I really do look forward, especially with all this time travel being done, if we might see a younger version of Kotal Kahn, or how he's going to react to finding out about all these different timelines in different realms. Excuse me. Because what made Kotal Kahn interesting is, unlike Shao Kahn, he isn't really all about conquering all the realms and killing everyone. He cares more about protecting what he has and just not being a jerk. He treats Ermac and Reptile and Aaron Black, he treats them with respect. He shows them the dignity they should be shown, and it actually is quite interesting to see the different styles of leadership. Especially after millennia with a dude like Shao Kahn, who would kill anyone pretty much if he even looked at him wrong. But that's kind of also why I liked him. That and his giant hammer, which I can't wait to use to beat up Kotal Kahn. Yeah, I'm just saying, the interactions between these two are going to be awesome, and I hope we get some in the story. So that's all going to be all for this episode of Raptor's Combat Corner. If you guys liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe. Talk to me in the comments. What do you guys think of Kotal Kahn? Do you think he is looking like most of the other characters as a great rework, or do you like the MKX version better? I'm all for talking to you down in the comments. Who else do you think is going to be on the roster? Who do you think the collector is? Excuse me again. On top of that, are you guys going to be excited for the beta? You have no idea how excited I am. And it turns out tomorrow, or today, depending on when this video comes out, we're going to get the roster list for the beta. I'm really hoping at least that Scorpion and Cabal are on there, because those are the two I want to play with the most. That and Shao Kahn, but, you know, until then I guess I'm going to have to be okay with #NotMyEmperor. And Aaron Black. How could I ever forget Aaron Black? I really hope he's on the beta, but I doubt it because we haven't even gotten the combat cast for him yet. Also, apparently at C2E2 there's going to be some sort of major reveal, including the first DLC character, new trailers, and new gameplay. So I might make a video on that. I'm not going to C2E2, but I might talk about it if I feel the need to. Anyhow, until next time, this has been the Media Raptor, as always, saying keep cool, and I will see all you dino dudes around. Later.
Your sacrifice honors me. Kotal Kahn wins.